I'm quite happy watching in the background and celebrating other people, but thank you very much. So what I'm going to talk about today is how we went from this really blessed, great life living in Canada and decided to, you know, what normal parents, good parents do is just go, let's take our children and let's move to a whole new country. And if you can't hear me, please tell me. I'm doing my best to talk loudly. The other thing I want to say is that they allotted like 20 minutes-ish to talk. I don't know if I can go through all the slides and probably be done in 10, so I encourage you, as I'm going through slides and speaking, please, if you want to jump up and ask or interrupt. I'm a mom of 3 and I was a high school teacher for at-risk boys, specifically for 8 years, so I'm very accustomed to being interrupted and I enjoy it. It makes life much more interactive and much more interesting, so I want to keep this as casual and fun and light as possible, okay? So yes, my name is Tanya Fines. I am born and raised in Vancouver, well not born, but grew up in Vancouver, Canada. But I was very blessed that my dad was from the West Coast, my mom was from Cape Breton Island, East Coast, so I grew up by the ocean. I could swim before I could walk. I am a mermaid. When I'm not by the water within a week, I'm not a nice person to be around, okay? So that's a good thing to remember. My story, or this story today, starts with us living a really incredible life in Canada. My ex-husband and I had a 3,000-acre ranch. We ran beef cattle and grain, so it was we're high production. We did very, very well. And we had a beautiful place, but in a part of the country that had winter like 10 months of the year. Yeah, so I don't know how to convert to Fahrenheit, but the average temperature where we live was minus 45 to 50. So that's really freaking cold. Okay?
How do you do cattle in that temperature?
Darling, you wear a lot of clothing. So my daily attire was Carhartt coveralls, multiple layers, but I'll give you one little hint because, you know, we're all ladies in the room and, you know, when you're up to a cow and up to here inside a cow, checking for a live calf. It's very unsexy, but if you're wearing something sexy underneath, you're still a lady. So it didn't matter what was on the outside or how much cow shit was on me. I looked really good underneath it. But we did. We worked very hard. We had a very blessed life. From there, we built multiple companies, and that was the one thing we were very good at. We were very good at coming together with an idea and building it and making something. And a lot of our drive was not just to grow and prosper our own family and our businesses, but we had an incredible opportunity to find people in our community that were struggling, that had great ideas, that had, you know, were very philanthropic themselves and had a lot of inspiration and motivation, and be able to anonymously help them. And that's something today that I do miss. I miss kind of having that opportunity to help somebody financially or with networking to help them build their dream. But we had many years of being able to do that, and that is something that I'll never ever regret being able to do. So we had a very sweet life. And then, like I said, we thought, let's pull the plug. One night we were sitting in our beautiful home on all this land, beautiful sunset. My husband actually was home that night because up there in the north, once they call it breakup. So how many of you have ever seen the show Ice Road Truckers?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we did that but on steroids. So he lived in a truck 10 months of the year hauling millions of dollars of equipment up mountainsides and stuff and drilling equipment. And one night we're after breakup, so when the ice starts to melt, it's never safe, but then it becomes really unsafe. We were sitting there having a glass of wine and I said, you know, what next? We've made all the money. We've traveled, like we have all the things and the stuff, and it was never our thing. I said, what's next for us? We don't need another company. I had just started my health and wellness company. And I'm like, what is our next thing? What are we gonna do? And I said, what are we gonna do specifically that's gonna show our kids something really epic? Like something that's gonna give them a sense of fearlessness, that if they're sitting around in their life at 40, whatever age, and going, I need something more purposeful, that they're gonna be fearless in jumping into that. I'm trying not to flash my girls, so let me know.
I was flash.
So we were talking about that. He goes, well, I don't know. He goes, you know, We have, I mean, that was a huge thought bubble in the room at the moment, because we had, like I said, we had 3,000 acres. We had the family ranch that we had taken over from his parents, they'd taken over from his, like the grandparents, and we had built it up to this big thing. I mean, we were involved with Cargill and all of that. Like, it was a huge, big thing. And then we opened up the trekking division, which was another huge thing. And then I started my thing, so it was another thing. So we had these 3 big entities. So it wasn't just like, let's move, you know, put a for sale sign on the front of the house and go. We had a lot of things to consider. Now, my ex-husband, I'll just say husband, I was married to him at the time. He's a good guy, we just didn't work. We were talking, and he was very fortunate that he grew up in a family that, you know, his dad was an amazing businessman. And he was able to take the farm from like a little small farm and build it to what we kind of took over and then blew it up. So every other year, him and his parents took a huge international trip. They went for 2 months somewhere. So he grew up traipsing all over the world. And so we're sitting there, we're talking, and I said, if there was one place you could go that you hadn't been, or one place you'd want to go back to, where would that be? And he said, you know, I didn't get enough time in New Zealand. And I thought, oh, New Zealand, hey. So I started looking, and I said, well, let me look into that. You know, you're on breakup, and usually when he got out of the truck for breakup, I gave him a month. Like, usually I got him a plane ticket to Vegas or something just to go and completely decompress. So I started looking, and I was like, okay, you know, as far as, because we had 3 young kids at the time. So it wasn't just us, these were 3 kids in school. My youngest had just really started to find his groove with his little tribe of boys. He was playing hockey. You know, we were taking on a possibly big thing that was, well, our kids are gonna be in therapy anyways, I'm gonna tell you later. But it was more than just us and our dream and our, like, you know, excitement to consider. We had these 3 little humans that we were responsible for, and we probably already screwed them enough by then, so we didn't want to do any more damage. But I started looking at it, and I thought, well, this kind of makes sense. They speak the same language. The school system is very, very good. It just seemed like a natural, if we were going to pick anywhere to go, this might be the simplest transition for our children. And thus our journey began. So, oh, no, down, he said? Down? Talk to me. He said this would work.
Here, Tanya.
There with.
I'll do that.